What if the only one who saw her pain walked on 4 legs and didn't say a word? She wasn't sick. She wasn't lost. But she was invisible. Until a scarred, stray German shepherd stepped between her and the danger she didn't even know was coming. No orders, no leash, just instinct and loyalty. Like this video if you believe heroes come in all shapes. And pause. Share it with someone who knows that real love doesn't need words. Comment if a dog has ever protected you in a way no human could. And subscribe for more true stories that prove the strongest bonds are silent, but unbreakable. It was a gray Tuesday morning in a quiet suburb where nothing ever seemed to happen. Until it did. 8-year-old Lila sat alone on the cracked front steps of her building, kicking pebbles with her worn-out sneakers. Her tangled chestnut curls peeked out from under her hoodie, and her brown eyes watched the empty street like they were waiting for something or someone. Behind her, the shouting had already begun again. The same voices, the same slammed doors, the kind of noise that made a child want to disappear into corners. And that's when she saw him. At the edge of the street, standing completely still in the drizzle, was a massive German shepherd. His coat was dirty, his ears alert, and one of his back legs trembled slightly, as if he'd once taken a hit he never forgot. Around his neck hung a torn leather collar, its tag long gone. His amber eyes didn't scan the road. They locked onto her. Lila froze. He stepped forward, and the moment their eyes met, something ancient and wordless passed between them, like 2 lonely creatures who recognized something broken but brave in each other. She whispered, "Hi." He didn't move. But he didn't run either. That's when the door behind Lila slammed open again. A voice barked her name, rough and impatient. The shepherd growled, low, protective, guttural, and in that instant, everything changed. He wasn't always a shadow on the street. Before the matted fur and haunted stare, the German shepherd had a name. Axel. He had once been a decorated canine officer, brave, loyal, unstoppable, trained to sniff out danger, protect the innocent, and never leave a partner behind. He served alongside Officer Karen Miles, a single mother of 2, who trusted Axel with her life. Together they took down drug operations, searched collapsed buildings for survivors, and patrolled school grounds to keep children safe. Axel was fearless, focused, and gentle, especially around kids. But 2 years ago, on a routine call, things went horribly wrong. A hostage situation turned deadly. Shots were fired. And though Axel managed to protect Karen with his body, he was wounded, and she didn't survive. After the funeral, everything crumbled. No one quite knew what to do with him. He was too unstable to be reassigned, too aggressive in the kennels, and too depressed to be adopted. Some said he stopped eating. Others said he barked through the night like he was calling for someone who'd never come back. Eventually, the force retired him. A quiet exit. No medals, no handler, just a cold shelter cage and a fading reputation. Until one night, he disappeared. No one knew where he went. Until now. Until that rainy morning, when he found Lila. It was supposed to be just another storm. Rain tapped softly against the windows of a quiet suburban neighborhood. Inside, little Lila, 7 years old with tangled brown curls and wide, curious eyes, sat by the window with her chin resting on her knees. Her parents had been arguing again. She didn't understand why, only that the louder they yelled, the smaller she felt. So she did what she always did when the house felt too heavy. She slipped on her yellow raincoat, grabbed her red flashlight, and tiptoed out the back door. Into the storm. The backyard melted into woods, and Lila wasn't afraid. She walked along the muddy path, whispering to frogs and jumping over puddles, imagining she was an explorer on a secret mission. But 10 minutes in, she realized she wasn't alone. A shadow moved behind the trees, low growl, heavy steps. Her flashlight trembled in her hand. Then the lightning cracked, and she saw him. Huge, soaked, mud-splattered. A German shepherd staring at her from beneath a broken pine branch. Lila froze. Was he dangerous? Was he wild? But then she noticed he was limping. His left paw barely touched the ground. His ribs showed. And his eyes looked like hers did when she cried herself to sleep. Quietly, Lila knelt. "It's okay," she whispered. "You look like you lost someone too." And just like that, the storm wasn't so scary anymore. The two broken souls met in the rain. The rain softened to a drizzle as Lila reached into her pocket and pulled out a crushed granola bar. "Here," she said, holding it out slowly. The German shepherd didn't move at first, just stared, eyes flicking between her and the food. Then, with a cautious step, he approached. His breath was warm on her hand as he sniffed, then gently took the snack from her trembling fingers. Lila smiled. "You're not mean," she whispered. "You're just lost." The dog sat beside her in the mud, chest heaving with exhaustion, but there was something dignified in his posture, something noble. A collar clung loosely to his neck, the tags missing, but a faint imprint still remained. K9 unit. Lila traced the faded letters with her finger. "You were a police dog." She didn't know his story, but she didn't need to, not yet. All she knew was that they both needed someone. And so, in the middle of the woods, in the middle of a storm, Lila made a decision. "Come on, let's go home." The dog didn't hesitate. He stood, limped beside her, and together they walked, one little girl in rain boots, one broken hero in the dark. When they reached her backyard, Lila opened the gate just enough for him to squeeze through. She dried him off with old towels from the shed and made a bed from her dad's flannel shirts. "I'll call you Shadow," she said, naming him after the way he had appeared. Quiet, watchful, always near. And from that night on, Shadow never left her side. Not at breakfast, not on walks, not even when she slept. He would lie curled at the foot of her bed, ears twitching at every creak of the floor or gust of wind. He wasn't just protecting her. He had found something to protect again. It had been 3 weeks since Shadow came into Lila's life. In that short time, everything changed. She smiled more. She played outside again. She even started talking to her teacher without staring at the floor. Her parents, still busy arguing, hardly noticed the big German shepherd curled beside her backpack, waiting faithfully after school. But Shadow noticed everything. He noticed the boy on the corner who always stared too long. He noticed the delivery man who tried the back door without knocking. And he especially noticed the night the gate creaked open when no one was supposed to be there. It was late. Lila was asleep, curled under her blanket, her fingers wrapped around Shadow's thick fur, like a child holding a favorite toy. Then came the sound. A soft scrape. A whispered curse. Shadow's head snapped up. His ears pricked forward. Someone was in the yard. He rose without a sound, moved like smoke through the shadows, and stood at the back door. A figure moved near the shed. Then another. 2 men, whispering, searching. Shadow growled. A low, deep warning, like thunder beneath the earth. But they didn't run. One of the men pulled something from his coat, something that glinted in the porch light. That's when Shadow launched. No hesitation, no noise, just power, and purpose and teeth bared in silence. The scream that followed was enough to wake the entire neighborhood. Lights flicked on. Alarms rang. And Lila? She ran to the porch barefoot, heart pounding, just in time to see the first man tackled into the mud, the other scrambling to scale the fence, his jacket torn by a flash of fur and fury. Shadow stood over the groaning man, panting, blood at the corner of his mouth, not his own. Lila stared, breathless. He had protected her, without being told, without needing to be asked, because she wasn't just his new owner. She was his mission. The police arrived minutes later. Flashlights cut through the darkness. Radios crackled. One officer gently pulled Lila back while others approached the man on the ground, his arm bleeding, his eyes wide with terror. "Who called it in?" someone asked. But no one had. It had been Shadow. Shadow, who growled before they even knocked. Shadow, who had acted faster than any alarm. Lila stood at the edge of the porch, barefoot on the cold concrete, gripping the railing with white knuckles. Shadow sat beside her now, calm and watchful, his body tense but still. Then came the questions, from officers, from neighbors, from Lila's parents, who finally showed up once they heard the commotion. Where did that dog come from? Is he even trained? He could have hurt someone. Lila's mother wrapped a blanket around her and looked down at Shadow like he was a loaded gun. "I don't want that dog in the house anymore." "But he saved me," Lila whispered. Her father frowned. "He's dangerous. Look at what he did." A young officer knelt beside Shadow. He had seen something different, something the others hadn't. "This dog's no stray," he said quietly, examining the collar with faded numbers. "He's got a bite pattern and precision only canine units are trained for. I've seen this before." Lila's eyes widened. "He's a police dog?" The officer nodded slowly. "Was. Retired, maybe, or lost. But one thing's for sure, he's not just any dog. He's a protector." Still, her mother wouldn't listen. That night, Shadow was made to sleep outside, chained in the yard like a criminal. Lila sat by the window, watching him through tears, whispering promises she couldn't keep. "I'll fix this," she said. "I'll make them see." But Shadow didn't need her words. He just needed time, because even chained, even banished from the warmth of the house, he watched. He waited. He listened. Because loyalty doesn't fade when things get hard. Real heroes stay, even when they're not wanted. The days that followed were quiet, but not peaceful. Lila's parents tried to return to normal, but their daughter wasn't the same. She didn't laugh at the TV anymore. She barely touched her food. She spent every spare second by the back window, watching the dog they still didn't trust. Shadow never barked, never begged. He simply was, a still presence in the yard, always watching the door, always alert. And Lila, she felt it, that invisible thread pulling tighter each day. When no one was looking, she slipped him bits of her sandwich through the fence, whispered stories through the slats at night. On the third morning, when she opened the back door with trembling hands and said, "Come on," Shadow limped to her without hesitation. He didn't run. He didn't bark. He sat beside her in the grass and waited. And so their days became a quiet routine. Shadow would walk her to the school bus, stopping at the corner, tail still, and he would be there again when she returned. Every single day. He never left her sight if he could help it. And slowly her spark came back. Her laugh, small and rare at first, began to echo again in the garden. Her smile, once tucked deep behind fear, peeked out like sunlight through rain. Her parents noticed. They didn't say it, but they saw it. The officer from that night came by, too. He brought old photos from the precinct. They flipped through them together at the kitchen table until... There he was. Shadow. Badge number 117, K9 unit. Injured during a pursuit. Presumed missing. Lila held the photo like a sacred treasure. "He found me," she whispered. That night her parents left the back door unlocked, and Shadow didn't hesitate. He didn't jump on couches or beg for food. He simply curled at the foot of Lila's bed, placed his chin on his paws, and closed his eyes. Not as a guest, but as a guardian returned home. It started with a knock. Late. Too late. Lila's mother froze mid-step in the kitchen. Her father set down his glass. The knock came again. 3 slow pounds against the front door. Shadow stood instantly, muscles tense, ears sharp. Lila clutched the dog's neck, her tiny hands trembling. Her father peeked through the peephole, and all the color drained from his face. "It's him," he whispered. "The man from the break-in." The same eyes, same scar across his cheek, same cruel grin beneath the porch light. Shadow pushed past them before they could react, placing himself between the door and the family. A low growl built deep in his chest. This time, he wasn't caught off guard. The door shook as the man kicked it hard. "Open up!" he roared. "I'm not done!" Lila screamed. Her mother pulled her close, backing down the hallway. But Shadow didn't flinch. The door buckled. The lock gave way, and as the man burst inside with rage in his eyes, Shadow launched, fangs bared, no hesitation. The living room exploded into chaos. Furniture toppled, glass shattered. Shadow pinned the man with the force of a battering ram, jaws clamped tight around the intruder's arm. The man screamed, flailing, but Shadow held firm. Not 1 inch given, not one growl softened. Her father called the police. Her mother cried. Lila? She stood at the hallway edge, not blinking once, because she knew. Shadow wasn't attacking. He was protecting. He had waited, watched, warned, and now he fought. When the sirens finally arrived, they found the man crying on the floor, bloodied and beaten, held in place by the most loyal creature they'd ever seen. Shadow didn't move until Lila said one word. "Enough." And only then did he release. Only then did he step back. Only then did he lay down at her feet, as if to say, "It's over." The living room looked like a war zone. Splinters of wood, shattered glass, crimson streaks staining the tile. But the only thing Lila saw was Shadow. Still, quiet, chest heaving. He was bleeding. Her father moved to grab a towel, but Lila was faster. She ran to the dog who saved her life, again, and pressed her tiny hands against the torn patch on his shoulder. Shadow whimpered softly but didn't move, didn't growl, didn't pull away. He trusted her. The paramedics checked Lila first, then the dog. The vet was called. A local officer stayed behind to file the report. It made the news. Stray hero dog stops repeat offender, saves little girl for second time. But for the family, it wasn't about headlines. It was about home. Shadow had become more than a dog, more than a protector. He was her guardian, her healer, her shadow in every room. After the chaos, the city awarded him a medal for bravery. They tried to put it on his collar, but Lila wore it around her neck instead. When reporters asked her why, she said, "Because his job isn't done. He's still with me." Shadow's wounds healed faster than anyone expected, but his bond with Lila That was something even deeper. Now, he sat beside her at breakfast, waited for her outside the bathroom, guarded her bedroom door at night, and sometimes, when nightmares tried to return, she'd wake to find his snout nudging her shoulder, reminding her that she was never alone. Her parents, once unsure, now said it first when they tucked her in. "Good night, sweetheart. Shadow's watching." Because he always was. He didn't need words. He never had. His eyes said everything, and they only ever said one thing: "I've got you." Spring came quietly that year. The garden bloomed again. Lila laughed louder, slept deeper, and Shadow, well, he finally let his guard down. No more flinching at doorbells, no more scanning windows, just sunbathing on the porch, ears twitching at the sound of birds. And Lila's voice. One morning, she came downstairs with something clutched in her hand, a crumpled drawing from school. 2 stick figures, a girl with curly hair and a big-eared dog beside her. Above it, the words, "Me and my forever hero." When her parents asked what the assignment was, Lila shrugged. "It wasn't for school," she said. "It's for him, so he never forgets who he is." Shadow didn't need reminding, but still, he sniffed the paper carefully, then laid his paw across it as if to say, "I won't." As the months passed, people sometimes came by to see the famous dog. Some brought gifts, some cried, some just wanted to shake the paw of a legend. But Shadow never let the attention change him. He stayed close to Lila, every walk to school, every lazy Saturday on the couch, every quiet moment when her parents argued in the kitchen and she pretended not to hear. Shadow was there, pressing his warm body against her, anchoring her with nothing but presence. Years later, when Lila was asked to write a story for her class about courage, she didn't write about soldiers or superheroes. She wrote about a dog who showed up with a bloody shoe and never left. Her teacher cried reading it. The next week, the school installed a mural, Lila's own painting, of a girl and her German shepherd, looking out at the woods together. Below it, the inscription read, "Sometimes, the ones who save us never say a word. They just stay." And that's exactly what Shadow did. Until his very last day. He stayed. Because real heroes don't disappear when the danger's gone. They become part of your story. And sometimes, they are the story.